Welcome to the Saline Lake Ecosystems Integrated Water Availability Assessment Seminar Series. I'm Allison Shipp with the U.S. Geological Survey. I'm the Deputy Regional Director for Science and Research in the Rocky Mountain region. I've worked for the USGS across the nation for over 33 years. My focus is addressing complex, interdisciplinary, large landscape challenges. I'm currently serving as the project manager for the Saline Lake Ecosystems Integrated Water Availability Assessment, or IWAA project. I have a Bachelor of Arts in Biology and a Master of Science in Environmental and Water Resources Engineering. My technical training and experience working with partners on the landscape prepared me for and excite me about working on this project. Today, I'll be providing an overview of the Saline Lake Ecosystems IWAA project with a focus on what you can expect from the seminar series. Throughout the seminar series, you may hear us refer to the Saline Lake ecosystems or terminal lakes. The lakes in the Great Basin range from freshwater to hypersaline. So when we refer to the legislation or the formal project name, we use Saline Lake Ecosystems. But when we discuss our project science, we often use terminal lakes to cover the full range from freshwater to hypersaline lakes in the Great Basin. Before my tenure on the project, an outstanding team of scientists was brought together to engage with partners and develop a science strategy to understand how the terminal lakes within the Great Basin function as individual ecosystems and together as a system of ecosystems to support migratory water birds. The strategy was published in December of 2023, and there are links to the document on the project website. It is important to keep in mind that the science strategy is aspirational. Understanding if water management decisions can sustain or increase water bird populations in the face of hydroclimatic change and complex water use dynamics is critical to land, water, and resource managers. Determining the potential implications of increasing hydroclimatic and anthropogenic pressures on terminal lake ecosystems, water quantity and quality, and resultant water bird habitat resiliency is essential to answering these questions and have been translated into the 5 science pillars of the Saline Lake Ecosystems IWAA project. After the partner engagement sessions, the science team compiled the input and comments from attendees and developed the priority science question for the project. The first question relates to water availability. We need to assess the status of water quantities and qualities in the terminal lakes and determine how that is impacted by consumptive use and other pressures. A parallel question relates to water bird habitat condition and use. We're working to determine the characteristics such as food resources, habitat, and status of the water conditions that are related to water bird use and the response of the population of water birds to these characteristics. Finally, we will pull together this information from the 2 lines of research to assess the potential implications of increasing hydroclimatic and anthropogenic pressures on the terminal lakes and the resiliency of those lakes to the increasing pressures. To answer the priority science questions, we organized around 5 science pillars that include water bird movement, water bird aquatic prey food resources and habitat, water quality, water quantity, and remote sensing. We acknowledge the need for remotely sensed water quantity information early in our planning because time and financial resources are limited. But we wanted to look at the 20 lakes identified in the legislation as a system of ecosystems. And because the waterbirds have no idea which lakes we would prefer they visit on a regular schedule. The team developed a data collection plan focused on the priority science questions and organized around the 5 science pillars. One example of how the questions and pillars worked together was the selection and tagging of birds for the waterbird movement pillar. We are targeting specific species each year to be captured and tagged, and we're tracking them across their migration pathways, along with other species that have been tagged for other projects. We are taking advantage of efforts that came before the Saline Lake Ecosystem Project to broaden our understanding of bird movements. The data collection plan sorts the terminal lakes into intensive, intermediate, and limited categories based on input from the engagement sessions. For the intensive and intermediate lakes, the same data will be collected, but at a different time step. All the lakes will have remotely sensed data to measure the extent of the water. For those lakes in the limited category, this information, along with data from bird movement, may be the only data collected during the 5-year study. However, our plan is to assess the design at the end of each field season to ensure that we are capturing data to address the priority questions. Each science pillar in the seminar series will be presenting their efforts for the current field season. They will provide first impressions of the visits to the monitoring sites. We've not yet had time to analyze the data from this field season, but we wanted to share our observations. Over the winter, we will synthesize the data and what we learned and determine what, if any, changes need to be made to the data collection plan. Next spring, before field season goes into full swing, we will hold another seminar series to present the data collection plan for the 2025 field season, answer questions, and solicit feedback from you. You may attend any or all of the seminars in the series. Over the next 5 weeks, each science pillar will present their observations from the 2024 field season. The water quantity science pillar will be presented on October 16th. Water quantity data are being collected to quantify residence times and water budget components, such as groundwater flow, surface water flow, and evapotranspiration. Data is being collected using a variety of techniques to investigate the overarching hypothesis that terminal hydrologic flow systems with longer transit times are more resilient to short-term drought conditions. On October 23rd, the water quality pillar will be presented. Water quality samples are being collected at 3 different time intervals: continuous, monthly, and quarterly. Continuous sampling will be conducted passively with real-time sensors and data being downloaded when lakes are visited for the other sampling campaigns. Monthly samples will be collected April through October and will include the monthly sampling of the waterbird aquatic food resources. The October 30th seminar will present the waterbird movement pillar. Waterbird movement data will be critical to know where and when birds are moving across the Great Basin study area relative to their annual life cycle activities, such as nesting and preparing for migration. These waterbird movement data will be compared to where and when there are changes in water quality, waterbird food resources, and water quantity using a habitat suitability model. Waterbird aquatic food resources and habitat will be presented on November 6th. Aquatic vertebrate community composition, density, biomass, and caloric data will be measured and summarized across space and time and used to model waterbird carrying capacity for each lake. These will inform food resource availability for waterbirds and other wildlife as part of the habitat suitability modeling effort. Remote sensing will be presented November 13th. Remotely sensed data products will allow the project to gather key information for water budget analysis. Temperature sensors are being deployed by field teams from other pillars and the remote sensing pillar lead to allow for ground truthing and improvement of the dynamic surface water extent, or DSWE algorithms for wetland areas in the Great Basin. Thank you for joining us on the overview seminar for the Saline Lake Ecosystems IWAA.